how I overcame fear, anxiety, and depression. I still remember it just like yesterday. Didn't have some college education, so I was constantly thinking about my life and where my life is going. I wanted to further my education if I could, but it would require finances. So at the time, I felt hopeless and helpless. I think I was not happy with my dad. I think I used to look at my dad as a failure. I used to hang out at my friend's place and then from there go play soccer, come back in the evening. I loved my dad so dearly, but I wanted to be angry. And I did get angry. I was always pissed off for no reason. I just wanted to lash out, to tell him off or something. But he was doing his best. I promise you, my dad was doing his best. He gave it all. My dad gave it all. But I didn't see it. Didn't want to hear it. So it went on. Because I didn't see a way out, I fell into a deep depression. And then all of a sudden, this fear. I'll be thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And all of a sudden, this fear will come over me. I can still remember how I used to feel perplexed. I'll be shaking, literally. In fear. A voice, that voice will tell me things. I'd like to speak to my dad because sometimes I see my dad in pain as well. Trying to talk to me, my dad would try to reach out and speak to me. I didn't want to hear it because the voice tells me, no, he doesn't understand what you're going through. So I thought no one understood what I was going through. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to say anything to anyone. I would just lock up. Didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to speak to anyone. My dad would try and try and try. And then that voice started telling me to end it all. Just end it all. End it all. I didn't want to. I wanted to speak to someone. It felt as if everyone around me were part of it or couldn't help. I could just be sitting around with friends and then that voice comes in like a presence, and then next thing, I freeze. The voice starts talking. I'll be in the midst of everyone and everybody's talking, but I'm somewhere else in my mind now. The voice will be talking and talking and talking and talking until probably someone notices that I'm not contributing or saying anything and then call out my name. I will come back to myself. I used to hate going home. I used to hate the dark because I wouldn't sleep. The voice would harass me and tell me things, and I wouldn't want to close my eyes because once I close my eyes, the voice will show up in my head. I didn't want to close my eyes. All of a sudden, I started having insomnia. I'll be wide awake when everybody is sleeping and staring at the TV. I will watch all night. My dad got concerned. He would wake up in the middle of the night and come into the sitting room. He used to get angry and switch off the TV and tell me to go to sleep. He didn't know about the voice. I felt like ending it all. There was so much pain. The voice would tell me things about myself, about my future, about my family, in comparisons with my friends. I still remember that voice. I hate that voice. I wish I knew better. Because now I know better. Fear is perplexing. The fear was perplexing. I am totally in disagreement with anyone who says fear is okay. It's not. It's not okay. If you've gone through that fear, you know it's not. It's perplexing. It's not okay to be fearful. And I also reject the notion that fear is the voice of my conscience. No. Fear is the tool of the enemy. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't yell. I couldn't scream. I couldn't do nothing. I'd just be perplexed, thinking until my head hurts. I didn't want to kill myself. Probably that helped. I didn't want to die. No, I wasn't going to die. Didn't want to die. But I needed help. And it was as if there was no help. Everywhere. It looked as if there was no help. But I wanted help. That went along for a long time. That spirit terrorized me for a long time. My mind was perplexed until someday. One day. Now I understand what that spirit is. I could reason with my mind. If I'm going through a situation, a perplexing situation, I could reason with my mind. Remember those times you feel like paying a rent and you don't know what to do, and you're reasoning with your mind. Your mind, you'll be like, why not ask a friend? Why not ask this person? Why not ask that person? Reach out to this person. Gives you an idea. That's how my mind works. But I noticed that whenever fear comes in, that presence comes in, when that presence takes over and my mind is perplexed and I'm not able to think or do anything, same mind that will reason with me, all of a sudden the mind would like nag you to kill yourself, harm yourself, and I'm wondering why. Same mind, also it seemed, the same mind. Okay, until I got it. It's like a switcheroo. When the mind is perplexed, usually it's when that spirit comes in and starts to act like my mind. It wasn't my mind talking anymore. Because I thought it was my mind, I went along with it, tried to reason with it. It wasn't my mind talking anymore. Every time fear comes in and anxiety takes over, something else takes over. It wasn't my mind now talking. So when I got to understand what was going on, and there was no way I could get my mind to understand what was going on, I kept quiet about it. Because the mind controls the rest of the body. Once the mind is perplexed, I can't even move my hand. I can't get my mind to lift my arm or leg or anything once the mind is perplexed. But I knew now something fishy is going on. I have to rescue us from this situation. And how do I get to do it? My mind has to be fed with the new information if we are going to get out of this quagmire. And here are things that I learned. 6 things. Hate. Don't have hate in your heart towards any human. These were things that brought me out of the quagmire that I found myself. 1. Don't hate anyone. But I was going to tell my mind and teach my mind to hate this voice. This is the enemy. 1. I've got to hate that voice. If you're going to come out of that situation, you will have to hate that voice. Any voice that tells you to kill yourself, that you're not worth it, everybody's doing better than you, that you're fat, is the voice of the enemy. Your mind will reason with you and try to reason with you. This voice constantly, especially if it talks you down and talks you into depression. That's the enemy. It's no longer your mind. The enemy is in the camp. Hate that voice. 2. Do not reason with that voice. No. When I'm in a situation, my mind tells me this and I argue back. The mind tells me that and I'll argue back. We used to tango, reasoning with my mind. I thought I could reason with my mind in that situation. No, don't reason with that voice. When the voice tells you there's no hope, don't believe it. Don't believe that voice. It's lying to you. Nah, don't believe it. Take that power away from that voice, because you're thinking it's your mind, but that's no longer your mind. Something else has taken over. You can't reason with that voice. So I stopped reasoning with that voice. I stopped reasoning with the voice. I wouldn't reason with the voice. 3. That voice is the enemy. I didn't see that voice as the voice of my reasoning or the voice of my conscience anymore. I saw that spirit for what it is, because I saw it's a spirit of death. Spirit of death, that was what it was. Comes in with fear, anxiety, and depression. That's the spirit of death. It's hovering over like a vulture, waiting for the last breath, hoping to push you to take your life. Like a boa constrictor, trying to squeeze every breath out of you. Constricting. Every time you try to take a breath, it tightens up. Every time you take a breath, it tightens up. That's the enemy. The enemy is in the camp. You better know it. I wasn't going to die. No, I'm not the dying type. Won't happen. Never going to happen. 4. Place no value in the voice of that enemy, on the words of that enemy. Whatever that voice says is lying. No value, no weight. Every time the voice threatens you, it's lying. See it as lie. That's how I saw it. Gradually, had no effect on me. The voice had no effect on me. Nobody is going to help you. Nobody's coming to help you if you don't get up from the inside. If you don't wake up on the inside and fight back, I promise you, help is not coming. Psychiatrists and your family will try everything. You mock the psychiatrists when they talk to you. That spirit will be mocking the psychiatrist. Mocking. I remember I used to mock my dad. Call him many names. And I felt at a point that my dad was trying his best, but no, that voice thinks he's a failure. When I stopped placing value on the voice of this enemy, virtually I started getting threats. In my head, I'm not lying to you. This is the truth. That is what the enemy does. He sends a message ahead of time, warning you of great repercussion. If you don't do this, if you don't do that, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. Threats. Literally, I promise you, and that's a lie. Because I wasn't accepting those lies anymore. I was getting threats. You have to do this or else you're going to die. You have to do this and that. You have to do this or die. No. Only an enemy will threaten you like that. It's not the voice of your conscience speaking anymore. I'm telling you. And then the 6th one. Be grateful and genuinely happy for the success of others. I'll tell you, was part of the reasons why I found myself in the situation I found myself. Because every time someone else does well, it used to feel as if it's a judgment on my situation. Was part of the reasons why I was in depression. When somebody else is doing well, my mind at that time used to compare me to some other people. And that's another thing. I used to feel sorry for myself, and that was the door. That was the door. I felt very, very sorry for myself. That was the door to the depression, the fear and anxiety. That was the door. But the last of the steps that you have to do constantly, every minute, every hour of your day. This you have to do every minute, every hour of the day. Is to laugh the enemy to scorn. If you haven't done anything, if you haven't done anything to try and get yourself out, this you have to do. Laugh. I'm not talking about just laughing. I mean scorn that voice. When the voice tells you you can't make it, you will make it, you laugh and jeer at the enemy. You mock that voice. Every time that voice speaks to you, you mock that voice and laugh. Laugh until your tummy aches. If you're not laughing until your tummy aches, you're not laughing. I didn't say smile. I wasn't talking about smiling. I was talking about laughing until your stomach aches with laughter. You have to laugh until your stomach aches with laughter. You laugh and laugh and laugh and roll and roll on the floor and laugh. Every time the voice speaks, you laugh and scorn at that voice. Every second, the voice comes and tells you something. And when you laugh, it seems it's quiet. And then when it speaks again, you laugh. you keep laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing, and until you feel pain in your stomach and in your head. I'll hold my head from laughter. The muscles will be aching and painful, but I'll laugh. I'll laugh at this voice. And suddenly my mind will be like, is that what we're doing? Are we laughing? I'm teaching my mind how to react to this voice now. I found out that's what I was doing. In hindsight, I'm teaching my mind to mock that voice. So every time I laugh, gradually my mind started understanding not to be perplexed, not to take the voice seriously. My mind started getting it. I started laughing. I used to laugh constantly. So when that voice comes, the power has been taken away from that voice now. So you're thinking, yeah, but I don't hear voices, I just get perplexed. Yes. When you laugh it to scorn, what I noticed was the perplexion doesn't come with a voice anymore. No. Usually it starts in the stomach. You feel butterflies in your stomach. And then suddenly, the fear comes. It was no longer the voice, and then the fear comes in gradually, and then the perplexion. No. It became sudden perplexion. The mind would be like trying to make sense of this sudden thing. It could be hunger. It could be anything. The mind will try to reason, try to find out what's going on. Comes in like a presence. And then suddenly, the perplexion. So what I continually did was to laugh. I'm promising you, I'll laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. I'll laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh until suddenly I started putting into practice every of those points. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. When someone starts doing well for themselves, I wasn't comparing myself to them. Never again. I wasn't comparing myself to anyone. I was genuinely happy for people when they started doing well. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself when people started doing well. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I became hopeful for my future. Because I didn't want to die. I wasn't going to die. So now what? I wasn't going to end it. So now what? I thought now it's time to improve myself. Cut out things that wasn't doing me good. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I used to exercise. I used to play soccer. I'll play soccer and come back and then still felt the same way that I used to feel. Until I started from the roots where it came from. The back door, I used to feel sorry for myself. I had no confidence. Everybody was better than me. My mind used to nag me a lot about not being like everybody else. Everybody else is better than I am. Everybody else is better than me. I used to feel like that. I had low self-esteem. Very, 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 very low self-esteem of myself. I didn't think I could amount to much. Those were the door to that depression. I don't think things are worse off for me than it is for everybody else. That was the mindset that changed me. I realized if I was going to come out, I was going to come out with my mind. I promise you, feel that fear once. The fear I used to feel every night. You only have to feel that fear once and you'll be an emotional wreck. Feeling that fear just once is enough to leave a scar emotionally. But I was feeling that fear every night. I was going to die. I was going to take it. My mind was not speaking to me. Something else. It was like a glitch. The screen freezes. That's how I can describe it. The screen freezes and then something else takes over behind the scene and start talking. You know, when it's as if I freeze up like that. And then from the screen, you're looking at that screen. You're thinking that's your mind. But behind that screen is something else. The voice. Imagine I'll freeze up, but I could still, my mind could still talk to me. Wasn't frozen. Fear is the enemy, is the tool of the enemy. Some people might differ and say it's okay to be fearful. No, not this fear. Yeah, you have to fear to put your hands in the fire, but not this fear. This is terror. I promise you, this is terror. This is terror. Seek help. Speak to families and friends. Open up to your doctor, your psychiatrist, whoever you're seeing. But make sure you honestly speak to someone and refuse to fear. That voice will try to threaten you and tell you not to speak to anyone. To tell you not to speak to anyone because they don't understand what you're going through. But if you insist on speaking to someone, it's going to threaten you to kill you. That is the enemy. Right there. That's the enemy.